Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks again for joining in one of our entrepreneurship training program workshops. Today, we're going to be talking about creative business and ways of operating uh, businesses in the creative side and artistic side. And so we have a special guest speaker here, Liz Munzon. Before we introduce her, I just want to introduce myself and my colleague here. My name is Don Pin. I'm a business navigator with the United Cambodia Community of Long Beach. And before we get started, I do want to just read a short disclaimer. So basically with UCC, we're a collaborative partner of the API-SBC, and we provide services on an equal opportunity basis, which means we provide reasonable accommodations to individuals with disabilities and communicating with people who have limited English proficiency if requested at least 2 weeks in advance. We're partly funded by the Small Business Administration, also known as SBA. And so our opinions, conclusions, or recommendations that are expressed today are those of just the presenters and myself, and not necessarily the SBA. And so, Sayan, if I can, would you mind introducing yourself?
Um, you might want to mute the Liz. Hi, everyone. This is Sayan. I'm a program manager here at UCC. I'm really happy for Liz Munzon to be here to talk about her creative experience in the art and sharing our about our community and the creative fields and what that looks like for her and her experience. So hopefully we'll have a good Q&A as we go. So I'm just looking forward to the presentation, and I'll pass it back to Don or Liz.
All right. Hi, everybody. My name's Elizabeth Munzon, or you can call me Liz. I have an art gallery in Cambodia Town on Anaheim Street. We opened in November of last year, so it's almost about to be a year since we had our first exhibition. I actually moved into the space in August, and from August to up until the very last moment, we were working on the space, fixing it up, and then had our first opening reception. I went to So a little bit about my background. I went to California State University, Long Beach, and I got my BFA in painting and drawing. I did the BFA program with an emphasis in figurative painting and drawing. And so this is a photo of my BFA exhibition with my professor, the figurative professor. And so when we were in school, if you wanted to be better at figure drawing, UG was the professor to go to. So I feel like I really learned a lot from him, and it really strengthened my drawing skills, not only within figurative, but also once you learn the fundamentals of figure drawing, that can translate to anything you do, really. And so let me see, these are some of from UG's class, some midterms and finals from when I was in school. So we mainly did a lot of charcoal drawing, which is on the left, and also had the chance to do some painting as well. And while I was in school, I was also doing a minor in marketing, and when I was looking for an internship, because I always wanted to do an internship, I felt like I really wanted to be part of an organization or a business that was within the arts. And since I was doing my minor in marketing, I figured, okay, like what could I do that could combine both my major and my marketing minor. And so I saw that the Arts Council for Long Beach had a marketing internship. And so my last semester at Cal State Long Beach, I was an intern with the Arts Council for Long Beach, and I helped them do anything from their social media to their website, and it really helped me develop as an artist. Like, it was a start of figuring out, how do I ultimately as an artist, you have to promote yourself and market yourself. So I think that was like a great learning experience of how to take what I learned at the Arts Council and apply it to my own art practice. And so ultimately that internship, when I was finished with it, they asked me to come in as a staff member. And so I did arts education. I managed the arts education department where we went into Long Beach Unified School District and took the Arts Council for Long Beach programs and took them into a third grade classroom. And so I coordinated the programs, and I was also a teaching artist within the classroom.
Sorry to interrupt, Liz. I just want to let our guests know, Fred, I know I see you there. If you do have any questions for Elizabeth, go ahead and you can just type that into the chat. We can also allow you to actually speak yourself, because I know this platform that we're using is not like our typical webinar platform. So yeah, go ahead and continue.
All right. And while I was working at the Arts Council for Long Beach, so that was when I started at the Arts Council was the summer after I graduated from Cal State Long Beach. And that same summer, I had the intentions of looking for an art studio. I was just thinking about looking around. I didn't think it was gonna happen so fast, but I really wanted to have a storefront. There's a framer on 4th Street that I go to, and she has where I get my artwork framed, and she has a shop where she has a storefront, and she utilizes part of the storefront as an art gallery, and then she does all her framing in the back. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, I think that's like really cool. Like, she can display artwork and then just be here like all day, like working on her stuff, on framing, on her business. And so that's what, like, that's where I got the idea to look for a storefront. I never really thought about a storefront. Usually when you see artists in studios, they're in a much larger like complex or community building. So I thought, okay, I think that would be like more manageable for me if I can find a small storefront where I can also like utilize a storefront as a gallery space. And I figured, well, if I can like divide the space between the studio, my studio, and a gallery, I can continue to be connected with my peers that from school, and just keep my art community going. That way I don't like lose touch from them, because you hear from our professors at Cal State that if you don't create, then it'll be really hard to go back into it. All of a sudden you take a break, and then a couple months turns into like a couple weeks turns into a couple months, and then a couple years. And I was like, oh no, like I don't want that to happen to me. So I figured, well, if I have a dedicated workspace and I can keep on creating, and with the gallery and the storefront, then I can keep my community going. And so I was doing the gallery while I was in my own art practice, and working at the Arts Council at the same time. And so basically my job was funding the gallery, because it takes materials to keep the space going. So like paint, patching up the walls, like little things here and there, it adds up. And so I was getting really burnt out. So that's this is a picture of my space, of how I divided it: my studio in the back, gallery in the front. But yeah, I was getting burnt out, and the more I did it, the more I realized how much work it is. Also, the responsibility that comes with showcasing somebody's work and when they're not there, you have to represent their work. You have to, make sure you communicate what they're trying to say or their intentions of the artwork. And so, yeah, it was it was a lot of work, but I knew that I wanted to continue doing it, and I wanted to be better at it, because I honestly, I didn't know the formality of running a gallery. I was just doing it as how I thought it should be done, and learning as I went, and looking at other galleries as an example. And so, the more I did it, the more I wanted this to be my job. I was like, well, I really wish I could get paid for doing all of this, and also paying, pay the artists that are participating, because I was showing the work, but I wasn't selling it. I wasn't taking commissions. Like, I wasn't thinking about the money. I was just thinking about the showcasing it, community networking, all of that, which I did. But yeah, I was just like, I feel like there should be more to this, where it could be self-sustainable. And so at the end of 2019, I ended up quitting my job at the Arts Council to fully pursue the gallery. And then a few months later, like 3 months later, like COVID happened, and I was like, oh no, like what did I do? Like I had like steady income coming in. I was like, now I don't know if I'm gonna be able to keep the gallery going without that, and just not knowing what was gonna happen, if people were gonna buy artwork. But it really pushed me to try even harder, because I really wanted to I still wanted to be around after the pandemic. And so what I ended up doing, just followed retail protocol, had by appointment only, kept the shows going, and I started a merch table. And so you can see a little bit in that table in that picture on the left, just like a little table and like a rack of t-shirts and stuff. And so at the time, that all the artists that would usually rely on income or extra income from art walks and art events, they had all this merch, but they weren't able to, go out there and sell it. And you can start like an online shop, but the thing about that is, like, you have to invest in it, you have to pay for the subscription. And some artists were like, I don't know, with everything going on, I don't know if I should like spend extra money on this. But I already had all that set up. And so I had them bring in their merch, and I listed stuff online. And so I took a 20% commission from all sales. And so it helped the gallery, and it also helped the artists that were, that didn't have that income coming in anymore.
Okay. I don't know. You probably might have already answered that question, but Fred had a question. He asked, how does a gallery generate revenue?
Yeah, from commissions. So from merch sales, I currently do, well, I'm still working on that. I'm working on having print. So it's more of a curated shop than what I had before. But from taking a percentage from the artwork, from all sales and the artwork sales. More galleries usually do 50%. I do 40. I'm also an artist, and my overhead isn't like super large right now. So I feel like if I can give more percentage to the artist, and I try to give them more of that percentage.
Okay, so artists would approach you and ask to kind of like have you display their art in your gallery, and then from there, when you help make the sale or they make the sale, you get like 40% of the final sale, correct?
Yeah, so I curate the shows. I invite artists to showcase depending on the theme of the show. That's how I figure out the curation, or I invite a solo artist, and then they're able to they take up the whole space. And once the artwork is documented and listed, then they give me a price on what they want to sell the artwork for. A retail price, and I take 40% from that. Yeah, let's see. What's the next one? And so this is the old space that I had up in North Long Beach. And while I was there, I also did, I tried to figure out what type of program I wanted to do. So I pretty much tried whatever I could to develop the programming in the space, but also generate some income. So the exhibitions, artist talks, or workshops. And so I was able to get charge for some workshops or get grants and offer them for free.
So a part of the funding can come from a grant too.
It can, yeah. If the grant allows it, I also apply to grants if I get the chance.
That's great.
Mhm. And so after I outgrew my old space, it was a really small storefront. And I not only did I outgrow it for my own studio, but also I outgrew the exhibition space. I think overall it was like 700 square feet, and I divided it in half. And so there was also an additional like small room slash office in the back that my boyfriend ended up using it as an office space. And then during the pandemic, he started printmaking. So, when printmakers start to like print their stuff and they have to lay it out so it dries. We didn't have room for a drying rack, so we were just using any surface to have his prints dry. And so he was running out of space too. And so I was like, okay, I think we need to find a larger space, because I wanted to have, be able to expand as an artist and be able to have more ambitious exhibitions as well, and be able to have more artists come through the space. And so I was looking for a space for a while. I want to say like a year and a half. It was really hard to find something that I felt comfortable leasing, because I just knew that with moving there was going to be costs. So it's always costly to move, but also depending on what condition the space was going to be in, I knew I was going to have to also put work into the space. And everything was so expensive when I was looking around. And like in Long Beach, there's a lot of storefronts that are managed or owned by development companies, and those leases are crazy. They're just like really expensive. A lot of fees involved, additional fees besides rent, and then like a yearly increase in rent. And so I was like, no, I can't do that, because this is all it's very new to me. Um, and I was trying to, with the move, I had the intention to be a full-blown commercial gallery. So before, while I was deciding to find a new space, I wasn't sure if I should be a nonprofit, go the nonprofit route, or be a business. And ultimately I decided to be a business. And so it's new to me. I have a general idea of how it works, and I'm just testing it out little by little as I feel comfortable, and see what works and what sticks, and just expanding on that. And so that's why I was like, well, if these storefronts are expensive, and I guess if I do generate a lot of money, it makes sense, but I really don't know. So I didn't want to take that risk. I didn't want to create more overhead for myself, not knowing if I was going to be able to do it. And so I swear, as soon as I decided to quit on looking for a new location, that's when I found a storefront. And so I go to the boxing gym that's on the next block over from this location, and they had just put a for rent sign. And I wasn't going to call out because it looks a little bit bigger than what I was looking for. But I figured, oh, just to get an idea, just to know what like storefronts in the area are. And it ended up being manageable once I kind of broke it down and did the math. And I have my studio, my boyfriend's studio, and it's big enough I was able to do two more studios, and charge rent for other artists to have a space there to work. And so this photo on the left is how the space looked like when I moved in. There was a like a little corner office in the back that was built by, it seemed like scrap material. It was really wonky. Um, and the picture on the right is what the space looks like now. So this was a photo of our last exhibition. So all the shorter walls, I had those built in. There's two studios in the front and one in the back. I share the studio with my boyfriend in the front. And then there's two artists that share the studio next to us, and one artist that shares the third studio.
Okay. So Fred also has another question. He does photography and wants to sell prints. Any experience working with photographers?
I don't. Yeah, photography is like a whole other like art other world of its own. Right now we focus on painting and printmaking.
Okay. And another question, right? He asked roughly how much does an artist pay for rent at your studio, and how much space do they get?
So we have two studios. One studio is about 300, it's 300 square feet. That studio is 600, and the other studio is about like 358 square feet. That one is 715. So it's about $2 a square foot. And these are some photographs of the space of opening receptions. And we have a free community carving night that we do. We try to do at the end of every month. If we're out of town and, we have other events, we might not have it, but if we do, we post it on Instagram or we send it out on our newsletter. And so for the carving night, we just want people to come in and do some lino carving. And just hang out, learn from each other. And we just recently got a really small press. And so if you finish your design on time, then or within the same day, or you can even bring it, if you save it and then bring it back the next time, we have the small press where you can print your design and see what it looks like.
Sounds fun. I might have to join you one of these days.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. You meet a lot of people they come from everywhere, like all of LA County, but mainly like a lot of locals.
How would you say networking is for an art business?
I think it's really important to network with your peers, to network with other galleries or other art related business owners. So it's mainly just showing up to people's events, supporting, tagging them. The more people see you around, the more people recognize you and be like, hey, I think I saw you at this show, or I think I saw you at this event. And then they start to recognize you, and you get to people, if there's opportunities that come up, you get mentioned, or people will remind that
Right.
remember that you're around, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so this is the largest studio is before it got rented out. It's a photo of the largest studio on the left. So this is what the studios look like. So just cement floors, clean walls. And my studio is on the right hand side. So that's half of I share half of that studio. So that's part of my studio with some of my paintings up on the wall.
Yeah, the walls look very clean. Like, what's the upkeep like for you? When you have to, let's say, take artwork down.
Yeah, it's not too bad. It's mainly 2D. We showed 2D work, and so we use nails or screws, sometimes even magnets. And it's just, taking out, once the show is done, taking that out, patching it up and painting it again. So unless it's like a really complex installation or we have to paint the wall, it's not too bad. Yeah. The most painting we did was when we first moved in, because it's a large space and most of it was like this off tan yellow color. And so I just went in and completely, like, yeah, whitewashed the whole space. And this is our murals in the back. We have a patio space in the back. My studio mate next door, Mr. Toledo, he's a muralist. He recently just had a Long Beach walls mural, and so he saw that we had this patio space and these walls, and he started doing spray painting workshops, where he teaches people how to do can control, um how to set up their mural, and and use different techniques to paint their mural. And so he asked if it was cool if he could do that, and I was like, yeah, of course. I think it'll beautify the space even more. And he was like, don't worry, like once we're done we'll paint it over. And I was like, no, leave it up. And I told him it would be cool if, like, I was like, eventually, with time, we could fill up the whole patio space. And he was like, say no more. He invited a bunch of his friends, and in one day it filled up the whole patio. And so I let him be in charge of the patio space. And so the murals are temporary. We have your rotating murals. He's still doing the workshops, but the murals are temporary. And every couple months, he invites a new group of artists to come in and do have a spot within the mural wall.
That's amazing. Great work.
Yeah, I think that might be.
We do have one more question.
Mhm.
You want to? Okay. So Fred asked, what kind of organizations should creative businesses follow for opportunities to put themselves out there and give back to the community?
What kind of businesses? Let me try to see if I can see the question.
Want me to read to you again?
Creative. I see it. Creative businesses follow opportunities to put. So basically you're asking what kind of opportunities businesses should give back to the community, I think.
Maybe it's collaborating.
Yeah, I think like for me, the free carving night, that's a very community oriented event. It's free. We have gotten a grant for that event, where we're able to buy linoleum, which is what you use to do the print, and we give that out because there's a lot of people who would like to try printmaking, but don't, or maybe intimidated. And so if they don't want to commit to purchasing the materials, then we have the lino that they can have. We have the ink and paper that they can print their design, and then we borrow the carving tools. So we have some community carving tools that they can borrow. And so that's one way to build community and give back, and also it really does activate the space too. And I feel like it makes that area feel a little bit, that block, because I'm right in the middle of this block, and there's a 98-cent store, and that's open during the day, but a lot of our events are at night, and you can tell how much like light, or like how much the space illuminates that block, or and I think it makes it it feels safer in a way, because yeah, that block is really dark, and since we're in the middle and we 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 have events and people and the lights are on, I think people have said that it feels a lot more welcoming, and it also at night it doesn't feel so I guess so intimidating to walk that dark stretch, because there's the other businesses are like closed pretty early, or it's like or they're not open at all. And so I think that's one way to see like what you have, and then what you can offer to the community, and what it could be, how it benefits the community. And so also, like, once those community members are in your space and you hear that feedback, like it feels really good to hear that feedback. But also you can take some of that advice too, because some people might have like some advice to give you, since they're around the area more often, or they're more familiar with the area.
Yeah, no, this is great because that's always one of our like concerns with our small business owners. They're always they're usually afraid to open later at night just because of they're concerned for their safety because not having enough lighting or not having everyone coming out during the late hours due to whatever their fear may be. But then I think like having your type of gallery where it's open a little bit later, open at night, it might change the mind or perspective of a lot of different business owners to kind of keep their business open.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I can see the concerns with local businesses being open later, like especially if you have like one cashier, that can be scary. But I feel comfortable because our events, it's like a group of people. And I think once they see like more like a group of people hanging out and doing an activity or being part of an event, then it's not as scary. So maybe like other businesses can try to find a model that fits their business, where they can create like one-off events where where you invite a group of people, and they feel safer being open later at night.
Absolutely.
So this I know, sorry, let me ask a question for Hi, Liz. This is Seon. So, I know as far as pertaining to Fred's question too about partnering up with different community member and nonprofit, I know we also partnered with your gallery to have a mural, indoor mural, and also a show for I think it was like a week. Uh, and so I know we had a great experience in that. And what was it like from your perspective and with that partnership? I know you shared earlier about, really just kind of getting a different feedback from the community and just kind of seeing how people participate and engage with your gallery too. I mean, like, do you think it helped enhance it because you're working with a nonprofit and the youth in some ways, because you're still maintaining what your focus is. You're running a gallery, you're running a business in a sense, but you're also activating your space in that community, within that community too.
Yeah, when you asked if we could partner up, I was really excited that you asked that you wanted to do something with the space and partner up with the gallery. Because I was excited because I had just moved in. I feel like we weren't even open yet. And I was like, wait, hold on, like I'm not even ready. But I was like, but I'm really excited because it really made me feel welcomed in the area that you guys saw that I was setting up, and you were excited that I was there, and that I was going to be part of the community, and there were opportunities for us to partner and have certain programming that have benefit both the gallery and the organization. But yeah, like going into a new space, a new area, a new neighborhood as a gallery, sometimes it could be scary or intimidating. I don't know if some of you are aware that like in East LA, Boyle Heights area, galleries aren't very welcome there. And so that's always kind of in the back of my mind. I'm like, well, what if they feel like, they see me as like a threat, or that I'm going to change the neighborhood, or gentrification. And so I always have that in the back of my head. And I um I know people, some community members might think that way, and so that's why I try to have as long as you involve them, and you contribute to the community, I feel like it makes everybody a lot more comfortable, and also it just it helps everybody out.
Yeah, thanks for that. I've always had this question for a long time, and like, and being an artist yourself, like say on being on here, and your experience with other artists, like how do you put a price on art? Let's say you're one of your paintings.
There you can go many there are many ways that you can decide, and I think it depends what the artist feels more comfortable doing. But ultimately, I give artists the advice to price your work what you feel comfortable letting it go at. And also if there's like if a gallery is taking a percentage, then think about what you want and then add that extra percentage to that price. If it sells too fast, then it was underpriced. If it's not selling, then maybe it's too overpriced. But also, like, do you really want to sell it? Sometimes people don't, they have a high price, but they're okay with it not with them not letting it go. Say, like, I have a piece that's like $8,000, and I know it's not going to sell for like a couple years, not until the right buyer comes. Then I would be okay with like keeping it for like a while. So it just depends if you would, what you're feeling comfortable with, if you want to hold on to it for a while or not, if you still want to show it. Maybe some artists don't price their work at all, they just say it's not for sale, and because I still want to show it at other galleries, other exhibitions, I want people to see it. So there's a few ways you can go about pricing your artwork.
Yeah. Yeah, you spoke briefly earlier, and this kind of ties into Fred's earlier question too. How you generate revenue, but like, how do you sustain your art gallery now?
Um, so I learned from the old space. So I'm really thankful from the old space because it was tiny, and I just, I took revenue from art sales. I eventually started doing commissions. I started with like 10%, then 20, then 30. And then the merch percentage from the merch sales. I also sell my own artwork and do different things, do different take different job opportunities here and there. And so I basically take from I create multiple streams of revenue because I feel like the space can't sustain itself without with just one. I wouldn't be able to stay open just with the sales of the artwork. So with this space, I do the sales of the artwork. I still sell my own artwork, and then I rent the studios, and then whatever other jobs I can do, I take I do like curation or hanging, or like random gigs here and there. And so wherever I can pull from, I try to figure it out.
Got it. That's awesome. Now for our guests here in person, do you have any questions?
Yeah, actually, so you said some artists have their artwork in the gallery, but they choose not to sell it. So
Sometimes, yeah.
do you like ask for a certain like price or percentage, even though they're not going to sell because they are taking up space, whereas you can have another artist have their opinions there?
Yeah, no, if it's not for sale, then I don't charge them anything to show there. I do take into consideration if it's for sale or not. I wouldn't want to have like a show where everything's not for sale. That doesn't make sense. But if I have one or two and I really like their artwork, then I would like consider showing them. But I try to, you know, have a good balance of not try not to have too many
Yeah.
that are not for sale.
What about you, Sandy? You have a question?
When you're considering taking art for your space, how do you come up with a number that like, okay, after this event is over, or this season or whatever, this theme is over, I need to generate this one, or I should generate this one to sustain myself?
I feel honestly, I don't think I think that way because it always varies. Like I'm still learning the art market. It's basically you're learning how to navigate the art market, what type of I try not to get too caught up with that because I do want the shows to be authentic. Because I think once you get really caught up with the money, then you can tell there's not a sense of authenticity within the shows, and then that reflects on your sales. And so I really try to be as like be true to what the gallery represents. So we mainly sticking with printmaking and painting, um and then seeing how the show does. So um to answer your question, I do maybe like alternate between a solo exhibition and a group exhibition. And so say, the summer is the slowest for art market. There aren't a lot of collectors buying artwork at that time because they're out on vacation and they're not spending their money on artwork. So, okay, this summer, or I should do a large group exhibition with smaller works. And so more people are more willing to spend less money on artwork and buy smaller pieces than larger pieces. And so I kind of think about it that way, try to figure out, okay, this, I think a group show would do better this time, and it'll bring in the money that I'll need to be sustainable. And then, and then I do that way I can, that's why I plan a year in advance too. So I can, make sure I have some kind of money, a good flow of money coming in, just in case one month doesn't do too good, then the next one will kind of make up for it. And if I have extra income coming in, then I save that, because you never know when you're going to have a bad month. And so, I just take that into consideration when I'm planning out my year. That way, when I'm actually like, okay, working on the shows, and then I can focus on that and like, do the fun stuff.
That's cool.
I
Wow.
have one more question.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry. So as an artist yourself, like how do you find the balance between doing administrative work for your gallery versus like diving into your artwork?
It's hard. I think there's never a balance, and I'm always sacrificing some of my own studio time to make sure the gallery is running, because I do everything. I can't afford to pay staff right now, to pay like a gallery assistant or a gallery manager and all that. So I do everything right now, and it's a sacrifice that I do to make sure that the gallery keeps running. Eventually I would like to hire staff, and I feel like I would do spend more time on my artwork, but I just take it chunks at a time. So when I'm in between exhibitions, I'm taking one down and putting one up. And then once the show is up, there's gallery hours. So those weeks are a lot slower. That's when I'm trying to put in as much studio time as I can.
Okay. So what is it that you have here? Let's
Oh, this is a slide of the artists we represent. And so with the new space, I wanted to start representing artists. I was looking at, I was looking at like mid-tier galleries, and they usually represent artists, which means that they have like a contract with the gallery where um they have a solo show whenever they decide they're going to have a solo. They're basically guaranteed a space to have a solo show, and then um and then whatever else the gallery decides. There's like a lot more to it depending on how much money or prestigious a gallery is. And so I read somewhere that, to be taken seriously as a gallery, with, collectors and just with, so your business gets taken seriously, you should start representing artists. And so I was like, okay, I think I need to do that. And how, but I need to do it my way, at whatever capacity I can do it, because my understanding before I ventured into it was that if a gallery represents an artist, they're basically able to pay them a living wage. And I can't do that at the moment. And so with some of those galleries are also like exclusive versus non-exclusive. And that means that either if you're like exclusive to that gallery, then you can only show with them and nowhere else. Or non-exclusive, it's like, okay, then you can show other places and be represented by other galleries. So I was like, okay, like the more I researched it and learned about it, I figured out how I could do it um so that if it's right for me and it's right for the artist. And so basically I asked some of the artists that I worked with at my old space, also artists that I consider friends that are helping me figure this out, and would give me feedback on how we can make this representational thing work and evolve. But basically, these are the artists that are guaranteed a solo show every 1 or 2 years. And I haven't had a solo show, but I put myself out there just in case if anybody, because I was hesitant about it because I was shy about it. But people have asked for like a catalog of my artwork through the gallery. So it's a funny thing about collectors. They don't want to go to the artist, they rather go through the gallery. And so it's like, I guess they want to go to the store. They don't want to go to the factory, right? And so they want to see all your artists on a page, what artwork is available, and they rather, communicate with a middleman than with the artist. And so I was like, okay, I think I have to, just in case, I'll put myself out there too. But yeah, the artists have, guaranteed show. If I go to if I curate a group exhibition and their work fits into the theme, if there is a theme, then they're always invited, and they'll also be part of art fairs. Like whatever I'll do, they're basically like my go-to artist. And so I'm just learning how to navigate that, figure that out, and how to represent artists.
Yeah, that's great how you have that exclusivity option too. have you had many artists recently like that will just reach out to you and say, "Hey, I want to go to your gallery and have my art displayed in your space"?
Yes, I have. Oh, just to clarify, like with my artists, it's non-exclusive because I feel like I can't like,
Oh, nice.
yeah, non-exclusive because I feel that like I can't give him a living wage at the moment. So if they do want to show at other spaces, that they can. We just have like we just work on whatever work that I'm showing for them.
Oh, I see.
But I do have other artists reaching out. I have a lot actually. I think once people find out you're around and they get a hold of your email, I'm always getting emails. And so it can be overwhelming at times because I don't want to say, no to anybody because you just like never know if they actually fit in the show eventually. And so I just whatever emails I get, I hold on to them, I save them, and when I'm curating shows and I do need artists and I look at those emails.
Oh,
Okay, I'm gonna ask a question.
yeah.
Hi,
Let me mute it.
yeah. Hi, Liz. Yeah, you mentioned a little bit about marketing. I know running a gallery pretty much on your own is a lot of work, as you shared. And also, but you still, I know, like through the artists and through the opening, you get people to come to you. But do you also go out, like, to openings, to fairs, and things like that? Because I know, you're still a young gallery, and then have you done that? And what's your capacity? And I don't know if you're finding success in that too.
I do go to other shows. So I have a lot of friends that are also artists. So I go to a lot of their exhibitions and they introduce me to people or I meet other people. And so that helps is just part of the networking part of the gallery. Also, people come support my gallery, come to my openings, and I of course want to go to their openings and check out shows that they have somewhere else. Um I I haven't done any. I've been thinking a lot about doing pop-ups in LA. A lot of people would ask me why Long Beach, and I'm like, well, why not? When it comes to art, usually people, if you build it, they will come basically. And so it's working out for me. I live here. I want to stay here. But I do consider expanding and having pop-ups in LA if I'm able to do it and find a space, have like a like weekend thing 1 week, I don't know, something small, and see how much of a difference that makes, if that does make a difference. But also I've been looking into art fairs. They're really, to participate, they're really expensive. Sometimes you have to even pay to apply and have somebody like judge you basically to see if like they even want you there, and then pay to participate. So I can't do things like that right now. Um but I am trying it out. There's a new art fair that the Torrance Art Museum is putting together, and it will be part of that. It's at the end of October, October 27th through 29th, and it was free to participate, and they're only including artist run spaces, collectives, or alternatively ran spaces. And so I thought it was a perfect opportunity to try it out and see how you know how doing a pop-up or an art fair is, because I've never done it, so I feel like there's going to be a learning curve to it, like just figuring out the logistics of trying to recreate what I do in my space in another space. And so I figure this is the perfect opportunity to try it out. And so one of the things that I've learned that I do is that I don't fully go in on something um if I'm not fully like aware of how it works, or if I don't think I have the full capacity to do it. So I find things like this where I can try it out. So I noticed like with my first art space, it was like really small, and I was able to do different programming there, or it's a trial and run error. And so now with this art fair, I just I thought it was the perfect one. So just kind of, I always look out for opportunities like that where there's not too much risk involved.
Okay, thanks for sharing.
Mhm.
I know it's a little over 1 o'clock. I'll start a little bit later, but I do want to be mindful of everyone's time. You've answered so many questions already, but now should be the time to where we want to open up to Q&A, so we can still continue on if you want to stay longer. If you have any more questions, feel free to start asking them now. I see you wrote
Yeah.
quite a few down.
Okay. Writing that. Well, there's notes.
Is there any final questions that you want to ask Liz?
So how do you determine the theme of a exhibition, and then you go out and search for artists like that? Because one thing that you said earlier was that you have to represent and communicate the work when they're not there.
Mhm.
So that's a big part, I'm guessing, is that you have to understand the art that you have to understand what their art is expressing. So is there a way where you kind of ask them to explain it as a part for you to consider if you're gonna have that art in the exhibition?
Not necessarily before. I kind of I pick a theme, or if I have an idea for a theme, I usually just get an idea and I'm like, oh, I think this would be really cool, and I write it down, and I later go back to it and then figure out the shows. But what I do is I'm friends with a lot of artists. I follow a lot of artists on Instagram. So I bookmark a lot of artists that I do follow. And once I have a theme in mind, I go back to those bookmarks or those emails that I get, and then I see what artists fit the theme that I'm thinking about doing. Sometimes depending on okay, I really like their work, it's kind of, you know, that could be a whole theme on itself. I also get inspired by people's work to have a theme revolved around it. And so I look at my bookmarks, and then I see what artists fit the theme. It doesn't have to be it could be loosely based off the theme too. It doesn't have to be super exact. And then I ask them. So I see if either that piece is available or giving them enough time to make, if they would like to make a new piece. And then once they deliver the piece, I ask them if I don't, if it's not explained, if they don't explain it themselves, on their Instagram, on their stories, or not stories, I mean on their website, or artists have a website with a artist bio and statement. If it's not out, if they didn't already put it out there, then once they deliver, then I ask them more questions, especially if I feel I'm not quite sure, and I feel somebody might ask, or I just myself want to learn more about it. Then I ask, and then they drop off, and we just talk about their work.
Cool. Give an example of one of your favorite themes that you've had.
A favorite theme.
Or maybe just an example of what one would look like.
Well, let's see. I've had, one of the last shows that was theme based was curated by Mr. Toledo. And so that one was, the theme for that one was works inspired by dreams and nightmares. And so whatever, you can either interpret that for what it is, or loosely, what is a dream mean to you, something that you dream about, or a dream that you have, one day I want to do this or do that, or a nightmare, either a nightmare you have, or what's a nightmare to you, so you can either interpret it for literally or more loosely.
Okay.
Yeah, and I also like to have more of themes that are more loosely based. So I had a show, their first show was called Filling the Void, and it was more about how you think your artwork is filling a type of void, either in your life, in your community, or so I like to be a little bit more loose, so the artist doesn't have to make something that they don't already, make something that's not part of their subject matter. Just want to because I always want to represent or show stuff that fully represents what their artwork already is.
Right. Oh, Seyan.
Thank you. That was my kind of warning to turn the volume down on your end. So Liz being on the ground as a gallerist and community worker in a sense, and also an artist, what do you, I think, because you probably know the landscape of the Long Beach area too, of different galleries and somewhat, nonprofits and things like that out there, and show space basically. What do you hope other galleries would do to make the energy of the arts within Long Beach stronger? Like, I mean, that could be through, I mean, gallery map or at certain exhibition at the right time or something. Yeah, what do you see or hoping for?
I'm I would be I'm hoping for more I think consistency, more consistency with art, with exhibitions, because I think once you become consistent and you have like a monthly show, or like you have a set space, like people know you're there, because it takes a while for artists and community to realize that you're there and that you have like a monthly thing or like a bi-monthly thing or whatever. So it would be nice to have like um maybe more gallery spaces or community spaces, cultural centers, things like that, with consistent art shows, that way there's a variety of programming within Long Beach. So I'm a commercial gallery, right? So it'd be nice to have like maybe like a nonprofit gallery where they have art, they just focus on artist calls, or mainly focus on artist calls. That way people know, okay, like I can submit my stuff here monthly. Or a cultural center where there's a space for they have a monthly show, and then they that it's always there and that you can participate. So, and then if there's more consistency with exhibitions, then you can have like I think it Long Beach art scene would be known as like, okay, this weekend I'm gonna gallery hop in Long Beach, instead of like LA today. Because I think when people like to go to an exhibition, they want to go to more than one, like within that same area.
If your schedule allows you to, next month in October, Saturday the 21st, actually, we're gonna have a night market here at our UCC location. Like I said, if your schedule allows you to, it'll be great for you to actually have some of your art piece, and maybe even just have a table just to kind of educate our community member that you do have an art gallery nearby, and they can pay, just provide them more information.
Yeah.
Even so.
Yeah, I do. That's gonna be the closing reception of the show that I'll have up that month. But it would be nice if I could figure something out, and just, maybe if you guys already have a table or something, I can have like flyers, and people are aware that we're there. If the time allows it, maybe we can coordinate. But how often do you have the night market?
So for the night market, we usually have it on a quarterly base.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so expect another one next quarter or the following year. But for this one, the event starts 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. So, but yes, if you do have any materials or any business cards, just some information for us to get out to the community members, that would be great.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
Any last questions from anyone?
Questions. So this question's twofold. Aside from like choosing to leave your secure job, as an artist, has there been a time where you felt like I made it, or this is a good success that I sold or finished or whatever? And then, as an artist, was there ever like a low that you've experienced during the time? And then same for as a business owner.
Yeah, I feel like I always I think it's something artist, and now as a gallery owner, I think it's thoughts that I get and will never go away. If you talk to other artists, I feel like there's always some form of insecurity about about your own work, because you make work and then you try to put it out there, so it makes you're put into this vulnerable situation, so you're often you second guess yourself, or you think, this even worth it? Should I even do this? I think it's just naturally human nature. But yeah, when I have moments like that, I'm like, why am I even doing this? Like, I'm barely, like, honestly, like, I'm barely figuring it out. It's self-sustainable. I'm not making money right now. I'm just happy that it's working and it's able to run itself. Eventually, I would like to be able to pay myself, pay other people, but I think that will come with time. And I'm always, sometimes I think, will that time ever come? But I always think about, if I would like to get a job, jobs will always be out there. I think I would just regret if I do get a job and decide to go down that route. I think I would eventually look back and regret it. I would think, who knows how far I would be able to take this, be like, I would regret that, not knowing if, not knowing if I would be able to really like take it far, not knowing how far I would be able to take it.
Okay. Any final questions before we close out? No? Seyon?
Well, yeah, I just want to talk about the night market a little bit. Yeah, so just the activity that we have there. We do close the street here in front of UCC, and then we have food, we have, arts and craft people come out. Definitely some musicians that come out. Um, as Don mentioned, it's going to be quarterly. We were doing it monthly before, but it was just like so much work that we had to do. Um, and so we don't do that anymore. So now it's quarterly, but we make it really fun for the community and creative folks to come out. So yeah, yeah. If you have flyer and things, Liz, to put out, then we would have a table there. We're gonna put our kids youth art program down there as well. So um I just want to say I really appreciate Liz for coming out and sharing about your journey as an artist, as a gallerist, and the creative ways that you could venture out. Oh, the question I want to ask is, do you maybe it might not fit your gallery, but do you sell things online? Like you put things out there at like an e-commerce or anything? Maybe that might not be ideal, but I'm just wondering what your thoughts are around that.
I do have an online shop. I don't have too many things on there. But I do sell stuff online. I mainly have I put out a checklist, which is an image list of all the work that are in the shows, and I link that on the website, and then people are able to email me directly. And just because if it's larger pieces or artwork, there's people would like to pick it up, so I think logistically it works better. But I am building on that site and on the gallery shop on location.
Okay. So for our viewers that will probably watch this at a later time, can you tell them where your location is if they wanted to pay your gallery or visit?
Yeah, I'm on 1730 Anaheim Street, Unit A. It's in between Rose and Gaviota.
And website maybe?
Website, Munzon Gallery. So basically everything's Munzon Gallery. So munzongallery.com or munzongallery@gmail.com, or also on Instagram, Munzon Gallery.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Okay. So that will probably complete our workshop today. I appreciate you, Elizabeth Munzon, for joining us and kind of helping us learn more about how a creative and artist business can actually be profitable, generate revenue, and kind of like a little bit more on how artists can put a price on their work. And so with that being said, I just want to close out by saying I would appreciate it for those who have attended the workshop to take a survey, which is going to be sent out either later today or tomorrow morning. It just lets us know how we can improve with our upcoming workshops, and maybe include new topics that you would want to learn within the business framework. And so if you could take that for us, that would be great. And I just want to thank you all again, and then have a great day. Bye, everyone.